Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So if you've been paying attention over the past couple of weeks, I think it is very clear that there is an unquenchable thirst among game developers, game journalists, and other members of the industry to keep this Gamergate situation going, whether it's for clout, money, what have you. These people do anything to keep this going, even at the cost of something like their job, or their sanity, or respect among their peers and their fans. And we've seen this happen time and time again, where people who are being criticized by gamers in this situation will finally start to lose the attention of people. And the second they do, they come out and make another outrageous statement just to rehash the attention that they were previously receiving. And we're seeing that happen once again today with this individual named Lalonders. This is someone who worked with Sweet Baby Inc. for about 1 or 2 years and then moved on to the position of the narrative designer at Cliffhanger Games, and currently they are the narrative designer for the upcoming Black Panther game. Now, this individual has been receiving a lot of criticism from gamers and really just social media users in general for some of the actions that have resurfaced over the past couple of weeks, including her support of Kotaku contributor Alyssa's anti-white comments, as well as this clip that went viral. This is a clip from about 2 years ago where she is talking about her hiring practices and how she avoids hiring white people because it makes her uncomfortable and she is afraid of microaggressions. Let's watch this clip again to remind ourselves what she said.
I have a team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games. But who is your team? Validate has a team of mostly all people of color. We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me. And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that sometimes it is hard to work with white people because they think that something made okay, but it was really a microaggression. And no one wants to deal with that while they're trying to make a game that they love.
So after watching that clip, I think it's very understandable why that clip would reflect negatively on the Lalonders, as well as Sweet Baby Inc. and her current company, Cliffhanger Games, because hiring practices like that are absolutely outrageous and offensive, and as many others have pointed out, it might also be illegal as well. Well, since that clip went viral, she has been pretty quiet, hasn't really responded to anything. But yesterday she came out and made an official statement sharing her side of the story. And by sharing her side of the story, I mean she is going to try to gaslight you right to your face and say that things that she said in this clip are not things that she said or believes, and that she said the opposite. But it's right there. You just watched it. You know what she said. And also, before going into the thread, keep in mind that yesterday, before she made that statement, she deleted 17 tweets. 17 tweets. So she's obviously covering something up. So that's something to keep in mind as we now go through this thread. So she starts off here saying, okay, let's address this. In this video, I very clearly stated that the team for Validate, another game that she was working on, is mostly people of color because I wanted to have a team of people who reflected on the game we were working on. If you played Validate, you understand why this was important. So a lot of people in the quotes would point this out. This is gaslighting. They are completely lying in the statement. In that clip, as you guys just watched, she verbatim stated that she was uncomfortable being around white people. That was one of the reasons she does not hire white people for that project and seemingly other projects as well. But she also shared this fear of white people on her team causing these microaggressions that would make her uncomfortable or unsafe or what have you. It's just completely gaslighting you guys. We heard 2 seconds ago what she said, and she's hoping you don't actually watch the clip. Now, going back to this, you see a mention twice of this Validate, and that is a game that she was working on at the time this clip was initially made. And let's see Validate. So here's the promo on Twitter. You can see it's exactly what you probably expected. And as she stated in the previous tweet, if you play the game, supposedly you would understand why she would need to hire people of color over white people. And I think seeing some quotes from the character descriptions would probably line up right with that, because Why would you need a white person to make a quote like this saying, "On God, F white people"? Yeah, you definitely needed to hire someone who's not white to make that line. It was very integral to making this description of this character. And if you don't like this character, I mean, there's plenty of other options from many diverse backgrounds, including an Italian. Including an Italian. This is critical information, ladies and gentlemen. I could use this to my advantage to a great degree if they're considering Italians to be some kind of a person of color. But nonetheless, let's move on before I get banned here. This is the continuation of the thread. You can see the replies are locked. That is basically the case on 99% of tweets made by these game developers and game journalists. They immediately try to restrict any way you can criticize or comment on their public posts, and it's truly obnoxious. Now, there's times where I think locking the replies is appropriate especially when you're dealing with like sensitive topics. Like I can think of like some examples of Doki Bird when she was going through her situation after a termination from Niji Sanji. She locked the replies to a lot of her tweets, but I think it was because she was sharing things like her mental health status and other things that I don't think need a public commentary. They're more for your information, and it's not necessary to have the replies open. But in this case, this is a thread addressing public criticisms of something that Lalonders said. This is a discussion. This is facing criticism, and you're locking the replies, which is not a good look. But continuing on, it says this. This video is a bit outdated. Recorded in summer of 2021. Validate was released in September of 2022. From when this video was recorded to release, we had a few white developers join our team to help us with some music and audio needs. Imagine if a white developer was being accused of racism for having a full team of white developers, and they said, "Oh, no, it's okay. We actually had a couple of black people working on the music. Don't worry, we had a couple people around the office just to make things a little more diverse." People would be up at arms over that. But continuing on, nowhere in this video did I say we don't hire white people or that I hate white people. I very clearly said we wanted to have a team that reflected the values of the game we were making. As a lead, you picked the best people possible for the job. See, that's the problem. It seems like what makes you the best person for the job under her standards is someone who shares values with these fictional characters. That seems to take priority over everything else, your skill, what have you. That seems to be the most important thing, and that's what people have an issue with. And of course, again, flipping this around in the opposite way, people would be up at arms. Like if you had a game based in, let's say, medieval Europe, where the vast majority of the characters are white people, if you had a studio full of white people and said, well, we just want to share our experience, people would think that's outrageous, and they'd be called racist and what have you. That's very obvious if that was the case in that scenario. So why is it okay here? Why is it such an important part of the hiring process? But focusing on this particular section right here, nowhere in the video did we say we don't hire white people or that I hate white people. Again, the one character description literally says, in quotes, "On God, F white people." You lied again, and it's right here. And you might have noticed there's a conversation sharing this image saying, is this the one you're talking about? Where this user says, yes, this is a designer who actually worked on this project, Validate. And they say this, "I don't believe it is true when you say you want your team to be safe. You have failed to do so with us. Your first group, you put F white people on the graphic of the character I designed." This is the person who designed the character, but did not choose to put this inflammatory statement on the same page as the character. And you can see they would make a quote retweet. I believe all of these have been deleted since then. They claim that they worked this out, but I think this is very important for the context, and it's also, I guess, pretty admirable that someone would at least, even for a short time, share some criticism of someone like Lalonders, especially when you've worked for them and were close to them. So it says, "Danny, you used to be a very good friend to me, but you have stopped taking accountability and being careful with how you navigate public online spaces. That is to say, you are not careful with your wording and how you go about spreading a certain message. Now, if you continue, it says, I don't believe it is true. When you say you want your team to be safe, you have failed to do so with us, your first group. You put F white people on the graphic of a character I designed, and it put many to all of us in jeopardy. I was being stalked, and I would have episodes because I was and still am as paranoid as it is. You cannot just say things, and I am so surprised you have not figured that out yet, considering you have been a part of many discussions where your wording and behavior was questionable. We as Black creators always have to be careful out there, and you have been trolling instead of getting a grip and being professional with your intentions. I had to block you after you got called out for this because you did not take it seriously until your yes men actually became concerned. So this is definitely a very fair point that they raised. Like I said, I think that they have deleted this section of the thread or the thread entirely, but this is a very good point. It's not just that you're putting yourself out there to be criticized or trolled by people by inserting lines like that, F white people. It also reflects negatively on the people who are a part of your team, including the person who made the design of the character that's attached with it, and also the other people who worked on the game. You are throwing them under the bus, and in statements like the thread we just read, and also the other clips and responses that she has made on Twitter, it continues to reflect negatively on people around her, and it puts them at risk of being harassed. So if you want to pretend like you care about people like this, you should take accountability and say that you worded things poorly, that you shouldn't have said X, Y, or Z. And if you don't admit to that and you keep doubling down, it keeps putting more people like this in the middle of it who want nothing to do with this situation. But of course, Lalonders would continue in the thread, taking no accountability, stating this. I have also only been working at Cliffhanger for about 9 months. This video predates my time at Cliffhanger by 2 years. Again, this video is old and does not reflect my current values or the current reality of my company, Veritable Joy Studios. So I find this very interesting. So your views have changed. Well, tell me how. Because you said in that previous clip that being around white people made you uncomfortable and that you're worried that they would cause microaggressions and that because of those reasons, you avoid hiring them. How have your views changed? Because in this thread, I have seen nothing that expresses anything that's different than what you said in that clip from 2 years ago. And also, let's not act like 2 years ago is some crazy amount of time. It's 2 years and you're a grown adult. Like, I don't think you changed that much unless there is some very identifiable statement to see that you did. But in this thread, you just gave people the runaround and gaslit them into believing that you didn't say things that we literally have a recording of. But continuing, before I end this thread, please let this be a lesson for everyone to do some research before they post. I have seen a lot of misinformation posted about the situation from journalists, content creators, and even TikTok lawyers, which is interesting how they called out journalists here. I don't know if they're actually referring to some of the main journalists covering this Gamergate situation, which is kind of interesting. But overall, I think, again, we're trying to deflect about misinformation. There's no misinformation with the clip. It is literally the clip. It is the truth. It's not out of context. It's just there. It's presented with full context, and nothing in this thread dispels any of the concerns people had after listening to it. And again, this dragging out further just drags out more of the attention, the negative attention being applied to innocent parties involved with this, like the people that were working on this Validate game and other people who work within her current companies and past companies. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. There's a lot more brewing involving this Gamergate situation, as you probably already expect. So we'll be covering that the next couple of days. But for now, that's going to do it. So as always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.